We are out in the April garden and we have a list of things to do today. We're going to divide our biggest perennial grass, prune up 2 of our tallest climbing roses.
Clean up our hellebores so they're looking great this spring. Add some drip irrigation to the foundation bed for hydrangeas. And I'm going to get in the basement and start a whole bunch of seeds. It's the first day of April and we have already had some April showers, but they've lightened up enough for us to get out here and take care of this checklist. The first thing on the list is taking care of this Northwind panicum. It's the most beautiful grass in our garden. This grass gets tremendous, I'd say almost 8 feet tall by the time the plumes come out, and it's an anchor of this whole area. It's right next to a quick fire hydrangea and underplanted with a whole bunch of perennials and even a couple of firelight tidbit hydrangeas as well. This grass is a beast. So we have been putting this off for about 2 years, and you can see, Eric, that there is a hole in the middle. And that's because as these plants grow outward, they get so dense in the center that it eventually will die off. Today's goal is to divide this into several pieces, and then we can either reuse that in another place and have a nice propagation moment, or we can just space this out in a way where the plant's able to continue growing and being healthy. We will decide that after we get past the part where we dig this out.
Yeah, I don't know how many pieces we're actually going to get or like how this is going to go. It's going to be pretty entertaining. Like Christopher said, this grass is tremendous and it is gorgeous. So I think ideally we would love to divide it into as many pieces as possible, see what we can do, maybe rotate it, put different chunks. But we don't know what we're going to encounter because ornamental grasses are notoriously difficult to dig and divide.
Correct. And this one's actually a native. I believe the roots go pretty deep. So why don't we go for the 2 sort of weak points here? At least we know this giant chunk in the front, which is so healthy and beautiful. If worse comes to worse, that stays.
I think we should just get in there. I can already tell this is going to be a job.
Wish me luck.
I don't know if this is going to happen. This is kind of hysterical.
I can't even get my footing here. This is...
Nothing's happening.
Gosh. I missed the shovel that time. What is going on here? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, this is not.
Well, now everyone understands why we've been putting this off for close to 2 years. See, this is going very well, as planned. That's what I'm going to say. This is exactly how we thought it'd go. And it, in fact, is going that way.
What's that sound effect that says 2 hours later? That's what we need.
Wait, look.
You got the first chunk. Wow. You did it.
Look at that.
You got a chunk. I want to put it on the berm.
That's a great idea.
I think we should put them on the berm because...
I want to throw it over the berm after that.
No, don't throw it over. I think we should just plant it quick on the berm.
I think we take the back out of this and leave the front.
That is a great plan. So we've dug out the dead center. We've cut off the back to help give it more breathing room, and then we can take those chunks and plant them up on the berm. This hole is just going to get filled with compost when we compost the bed. But I think this should be set for the season, don't you?
I agree.
I don't think we need to do more.
No. Trying to take out that front healthy portion. It would be heavy, but that healthy front would probably be just too much. So let's leave that.
And eventually this will just kind of start to fill in again.
It will. It'll start to continue growing in that circular pattern. And then in 5 or 6 years, we'll come out and hire someone to dig it for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna dig some quick holes up on the hill and throw those chunks in.
Yeah, really easy, no prep, no anything, just stick them in. Okay, so those 3 chunks of grass are popped up on the berm. We're gonna go back in the garage, get some pruners and a ladder, and we'll take after the generous gardener and Teasing Georgia. This is Teasing Georgia, a David Austin climbing rose. We have it planted on the Jardin Tower. This is a Gardener Supply obelisk that I love because it screws together. It's very sturdy. As you can see, the teasing Georgia is a very vigorous climber. So what I have to do now is take this down to a reasonable height and continue what I started last year, which was a spiral plan for the foundation canes. So those lateral canes, I'm gonna try to keep them relatively horizontal, but in a spiral pattern. And then all this top stuff is the lateral growth. I have my rose gauntlets on. They're well loved. So I will say, I don't know how gauntlet-y they are anymore, but
They're made of leather.
They're made of leather. They're worn. I have to take my earmuff things off because I can't hear that well with them on. So let's just start taking stuff off.
And it's gonna look severe, but there's a couple of things to keep in mind. There was some rabbit damage happening. And roses respond very well to pruning. So the first things you look for when you're pruning your rose is anything that's dead, anything that's diseased, anything that's damaged. And we do have a lot of damage on this from the rabbits.
But the good thing is it doesn't seem to have girdled the canes, meaning they didn't eat all the bark all the way around. So I don't think I have to take all of this stuff to the ground. We should be in good shape. The reason I'm starting just to take some of these long things off in front of me are frankly so I can navigate my way around the shrub. That's the only reason.
So you don't get poked in the face?
That's basically the only thing I'm worried about is, you know, not getting poked in the face at the moment. So once I take a little bit of this ridiculous growth away, then I can start shaping and loving on this rose. Oh, there's a Superba clematis on this. Oh my gosh,
I forgot. You planted a clematis in here last fall.
And it did well. It bloomed quite a bit and it made it to the top. But this is a type 3 clematis, so guess how we're gonna prune this one? Watch this, ready? We're gonna go a few inches from the ground. There's so many buds down here. And look at the roots that are all exposed. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. We should definitely get in there and put some black chicken wire around it so the rabbits don't eat it. Look at all this rabbit dropping happening.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cover this whole thing. But because it's a type 3 clematis, I go up from the ground. There's a little bit of a crack right here, which is probably fine. I'm gonna go right here, since it's just up from the ground, and cut there. Pull everything else away, and that's it. That's the entirety of pruning a type 3 clematis. Because that grows completely on, or the flowers bloom completely on new wood. So we take that away and then it starts fresh every year. I'm just slowly looking at my biggest canes. Like I know this is one that's gonna be in the spiral here. So I can take away some of these branches and I'm looking for those little nodes. I've seen people say go up 2 little nodes. This is teasing Georgia. I'm gonna go up 1 little node.
Yeah, it's a beast. And it's, I mean, I guess technically it's full sun, but it's on the east side of our house. Yeah, I can take those as we're chatting.
There you go.
It's on the east side of our house, so it gets morning sun and then early afternoon sun until the sun passes in front of the home, which is around 1 or 2. And then it's all protected for the rest of the day.
You always hear people talk about airflow when they're talking about pruning a rose, and anything that grows inside my cyclone I want to take away, but also disease, damage, dying. So here you can see this cane right here. It's going into the shrub, so that's the reason it's coming out. But also, let me clip this and show you. All of that white stuff is from little bunny Foo-Foo, who I'm not happy with.
Bark. Yeah, let me show you close up.
So that's that rabbit damage. Then, Eric, we're gonna go down here. I'm gonna take this cane also. You don't have to come all the way in, but I'll bring it to you. This cane has died. That's what dead canes look like. So that needs to go as well.
That black color is the dead cane. Ooh, and probably due to this.
It could be because it was chewed completely.
Look at that, that's really chewed.
Also, now I'm looking at this crossing branch. This branch is gonna cross over and touch all these other things. I don't want that, let's get rid of it. What's interesting about this rose is usually the damage wouldn't be this high up because the bunnies aren't that tall. But we had a good 1.5 feet of snow here and it gave them a little elevator so they were able to get higher up into the shrub.
The good news about that, sorry to interrupt, the good news is that it protected the very base, which is the most important part.
Right.
Sorry, the camera work is very mediocre. Doing my best.
All right, so we have been working on the back of the shrub, which is hard to really see. So we move back up to the front. I'm going to continue removing some of this congestion and crossing branches and focus on creating this awesome spiral. First thing I'm noticing as I move up here is this cane, this really thick cane that goes horizontally, has a ton of beautiful lateral branching. So let's cut right above a little node there, and that's going to continue not poking us in the
Yeah, I
head.
don't want snapback to smack you in the face. Trying to film and clean up these little droppings.
I gotta say, I'm impressed with the fact that there's so little actual dead or damaged from the weather. There's definitely some rabbit stuff, but I'm impressed that it didn't get more damaged via winter.
Very healthy. But you know what I think does most of our damage is the wind. And the house blocks the wind on this.
You can see that there's a whole bunch of branching together. This big branch is right in like the crook there.
Mm-hmm.
Whole thing's coming out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I don't want that to rub against each other and create any more openings than those bunnies did in the cane.
Yeah, these horizontal canes had some really nice vertical growth on them.
And that's what, when you had mentioned that we weren't keeping up on it, I'm not so sure it was that we weren't keeping up on it, but now that I'm seeing it, I feel like this rose just grew. Like, may I have the tapener, please?
Yes. So we have this amazing tool called the tapener, which Christopher can demonstrate for you. I think it's an absolute must-have.
Basically, it creates these little green twist tie numbers. You give it one tap, and there's your tape. And then you press it over the area you want to tape and give it a second nudge, and it gives you a little tie. This is not strong enough for staking trees or anything, but it is strong enough for this purpose today. Okay, now I'm working on all of the back right now. It's so hard to see. Does this have hooks? Well, oh, there we go, look. Nope, it opened the whole tool up. That wasn't efficient.
And this can definitely get taped like this here.
Right, that one is a definite for going this way.
We'll do another little tape here-ish, because I feel like as this grows, it's going to want to pull up.
I do wish the tape was a little different green, but that's a whole other story.
I'm really interested to see how these roses recover with this much rabbit damage. I think they're going to be fine, but
Same. I think they're going to be perfectly fine. Worst comes to worst, the rose goes to the ground because they had that damage. But we know how fast this can come back because this was bare root when we bought it.
true. Okay, now I see a huge change now.
Right? It all of a sudden, that's what happens when you're pruning. It just all of a sudden you're like, wait, it's happening. We did it. Here's some more.
I'm just over here. I mean, the camera work right now, Christopher, is going to be treacherous. So thank you everyone for sticking with us. But I'm dealing with one-handed roses stuck to me, trying to film you while clean up at the same time. Maybe I'll just focus on the filming for now. As we're getting near the finesse. See the vision, the twisty cyclone vision. Very nice.
And I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm ready to walk away from this one. You can see the cyclone is happening. And you can see that the lateral branches are going to come up out of these main canes that we've produced the spiral with. We're going to put a cage on the inside with the that black chicken wire. And then this will be ready to go for the season. I can't wait to see how this goes.
We're going to start tackling the Gothic arch by cutting the clematis back. It is a type 3, right, Christopher?
Yes, Betty Corning is type 3.
Which means that it can go to about 16 to 18 inches from the ground.
Yep, just above a set of healthy buds.
And so this is all clematis growth here. So we're going to cut that, rip that out, and then we'll get a better view of what's going on with the rows. But this is that black chicken wire around the base that's really helpful. Down here you can see Betty Corning. She has a lot of growth points happening. So we could just do right here.
That's the perfect spot.
We can do here. And I can cut this off here. Okay. Oh, so there's more clematis back here.
And then what Eric is looking at, let me move this chicken wire out of the way and get in here close. That point right here, where you can see right above my fingertip where it splits, that's where those growth buds are coming out of. So we'll clean everything away from that, and then it will be like a junction point where it all grows away.
Let's show them on the other side before I get to it. Okay, this is probably, where's a better, oh, right here's a great example.
Yep, so right here is that nice growth point. So Eric's gonna cut everything above that growth point away. And that's where the clematis is going to start from.
In theory, there's gonna be a lot of debris, I think. But this is why you need some good gloves.
Thank you, thank you for this debris. Moving on to the generous gardener, now that we've got, for the most part, most of Betty Corning out of the way, I'm gonna look for my disease, damage, and dying. First thing I see is that this cane here, right from the ground, has perished. It's got that blackened look to it. Oh, look, there's a way to move this out of the way. And I'm gonna take that right down and get rid of it, because this is just not looking so good. No sense keeping it. And frankly, we have more than enough canes on this rose. So if we have to take some out from the base, I'm perfectly content with that. And then this here, you can see that blackened look to it. I'm gonna take that right off the cane, the spot here. These are looking good, these are looking good. Let's take out this spindly growth here.
If I come around front, there's definitely, this looks a little rough.
Oh yeah. Oops. This right in here. Just take these out. Because again, we actually don't need them anyway, so if they're questionable, they're going. So I'm just looking for what places for that lateral, these little pieces that shoot off the main cane. It's tough though when it's going up an arch. So we get the horizontal we can, and we are happy with that, knowing that this is a very vigorous rose that will give us lots and lots of beautiful flowers.
It is a gorgeous rose for a garden entrance, I will say that.
If you look here, Eric, see how I had already started training some of these canes horizontally? Isn't that funny? They're still, I forgot about some of those because I was gonna try to wrap the rose. Wait, can I do that with this? This is young enough that I might be able to flex this and create a horizontal right there.
You could.
How good is that?
So good.
And that'll give us some flowers much lower. Haha! Very exciting.
And then what do you do once we get up top? Because shortly I'm going to put the camera down and we're both going to be going at this rose. So just tell us what happens at the top, because
once we get up towards the top, it's not going to be too much different. Obviously, everything up there is going to be a lateral. I think what I want to do is thin it out a little bit so it's not super congested.
Well, it kind of becomes a horizontal once it gets up there.
The whole thing becomes a horizontal, which means we'll have lots of growth up there. I just want to tame it down because I know it's going to send wild canes up.
Which kind of sounds beautiful.
It does sound beautiful.
Come check my work.
So this really long cane was straight up the arch. And what I did is I was able to bend it and tie it into a bit of a horizontal. So now, using Eric's help, I'm going to bring it back over in front and go as low as I can comfortably bend this. And then I broke it. So we're not going to continue with that. Too far. But we did get that one horizontal, so we'll take the win and move on.
You know, we always say be brave, so we were brave. And
I was very brave. Look how less congested this looks already with Eric up there snipping and pulling leaves off. That's basically all we're gonna do at this point is
snip, pull off
snip,
leaves,
pull
clean
off
it up,
leaves.
and reattach it to the trellis.
That's it. That's the whole plan. It's done. We did it.
Looks really good. We're still here working on the east side of our house, which means that this gets morning sun until very, very early afternoon. And right now, we're working underneath our pollarded, not hinoki, hishiki willow.
Yes.
And so right now it just looks like, you know, trunks with stumps on the end, but this is gonna be all shade underneath it come growing season. And we have planted here our hellebores. The majority of our hellebores are just from Trader Joe's. And you'll see them in like the February-ish time of year. So if you do see them and you're not ready to plant outside because the ground is still too frozen, bring them home, put them in your garage and plant them out when the ground thaws. But you can see they're starting to flower. But underneath them is all of this tattered foliage. So what we like to do, and which is kind of best practice for hellebores in our area, is come in and cut off this tattered foliage so that these flowers can really shine, and then they'll produce new fresh foliage this year. So I'm gonna go through, just cut off all the tattered foliage, rake it up, clean it out, and let these beautiful blooms shine. And all you do is go in, don't be afraid, cut it back as far as you comfortably can. Take your time, enjoy it out here in the garden. And there are probably, you know, try not to disturb too many things because, you know, things are still hibernating in there. But there's so much goodness happening in the garden right now that we just want to show it off and enjoy it. Wow, look at that nice,
That's a giant leaf.
Yeah. And so as I go through, I'm just cutting back, making sure I don't accidentally nip any flower stalks. And
but if you do, it's, you know, the plant will be okay.
And you can see how it already is showing off the beauty of the hellebores.
Eric can't have all the fun.
Obviously not. Oh, look at this one. This is like...
That's a very sweet one. It's the same as this back here. It's kind of a rose color.
Yeah.
A little different than, what is it, Anna's Red, I think is the name I see on that darker red all the time.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, when you buy your plants at Trader Joe's, they don't come very well labeled.
That's how it goes. If you're wondering about this bungee cord that's above our heads right now, because we've created this shade, some of our plants have done particularly well, and I'm trying to lift the canopy a little bit on this particular branch upward, so they're kind of just counter tugging on each other so that they will continue growing in the direction I want.
Yeah, we're using them to help each other. So sweet. Gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Now we're going to be adding some extra drip irrigation to our hedge of Invincible Spirit 2 hydrangeas. Right now they have a singular line going right through the center of them, but I think that they'll do even better this season if we can add some drip behind them and in front of them, because this is an arborescens variety that prefers a little bit of afternoon shade, but this faces full south, and we're kind of borderline in zone 6 as to whether they can handle that or not. And they really can, but I think they'd appreciate more water.
What we're gonna do to add that drip is use this 1/2-inch supply line with drips every 18 inches. And that'll give a nice even coverage to this whole area, since we don't really want targeted water. We want these hydrangea roots, which tend to be more shallow, to spread out and be happy in their new home. Let me figure out how I'm going to achieve this without crushing an allium, breaking a branch, and also getting this in there properly. You hold that.
I'll hold that.
I am...
If you walk behind the boxwoods, it's a clear path back there.
Well, what I want to do right now is lay this all down.
Oh, okay.
so I know how much to cut and place. And I could have remembered to bring landscape staples out with me. So instead I'm gonna do this first and then I'll come back and put the staples in.
Hey, we've been out of practice. This is our first drip in about 4 or 5 months, right?
Yes, which is a happy thing, because as much as drip is effective and important in the garden, and in some gardens, I appreciate and respect that some gardeners can't even have a gardener without drip irrigation. This is supplemental for us, but it is probably my least favorite task in the garden. I haven't crushed one thing, knock on wood.
Don't jinx it.
Don't jinx it. Find out where my supply line is to tap into. Here's a junction right here that I can tap into. Now, let's run the other line from this point over there, and then we'll connect in and staple this in. I have located a place to connect in. Look how deep this is.
I know.
4 or 5 inches under. This is a time where I will say spending more on the equipment makes a big difference. Putting couplers onto cheaper knockoff drip equipment,
Not worth it.
not a good idea. You will fight with it. You will say bad words, and you will have an overall not good time.
I love the combination of the alliums with the arborescens hydrangea. It's just a perfect combo because as those purple flowers are blooming and the allium foliage is fading, it gets covered up by all the beautiful fresh growth from the arborescens hydrangeas.
It smells really good right here under this juniper. Yeah, even though this black distribution tube that doesn't have holes in it has been here a while, it's still easier to work with than some of the cheap stuff that's probably brand new. Lessons have been learned. Look at that. Now we have all that extra that we can be thankful will be encouraging this hydrangea growth.
Doesn't look like much now, but it is going to make a huge difference. So I'm going to grab some landscape staples and go through and pin it down.
Welcome to the basement greenhouse. Come on, Frederick. Frederick is very excited
He's
for us
so
being
adorable.
back in here.
I know.
And Frederick's been in and out. She just yells the whole time. We love her. I'm going to start a bunch of seeds today. I went the other day and started washing all of my seed trays. And I have a whole collection here, some of which Eric knows about, some of which I'm about to ask Eric about. But I think since I have this extra large seed cell that is the other half of this guy, and this is ready to go, I think what I should do for this is do our tomato and squash that I'm going to start.
All right. Oh, the delicata squash. I don't know where I've been living the last few years, but I just discovered it last year.
And this can be done as direct seed, but because our growing season can be a little bit condensed, I am going to do the big risk and I'm going to start it a little on the early side. This will be going in the elevated beds. And then tomato, Rebel Starfighter Prime.
Gorgeous.
We've done a couple of these funny looking tomatoes over the last years, and I think this is going to be great. I'm going to see, it's 1/8 of an inch depth on that one.
Do we know if that's a determinate or an indeterminate?
I believe it's indeterminate.
So it'll just keep going indefinitely.
Yeah, what I'm thinking I want to do, the last couple of years, we've done the same tomato in both of our 2x4s. Do you think I should do 4 of them again? And if we plant 1 in each, we can give away the other ones?
We could also do it in the center of the strawberry beds, the 2x2s. And
We would just need something really tall.
Yeah, that's true.
All right,
no,
well-
let's do it like we did last year.
Okay, so why don't I do 4 of the tomato, and I'll do 2 of the squash, because I have a feeling the squash are going to be fine. We don't need that many squash. We'll probably only ever plant 1.
Sorry, I'm distracted.
He's so funny.
He just loves attention.
All right, I'm going to break out. This is all the same soil. I'm just going to refresh here. Coast of Maine, Sprout Island. I'll be going through a lot of this. Just picked up quite a few bags of it.
And people always ask us where we got this soil tray. Do you remember?
I think I may have ordered this on Amazon. I've seen this in various locations, but I can't remember exactly where it was. There's something similar to this at the garden center.
Yes.
When we were just there the other day. I am going to do gloves, not because I'm afraid of getting dirty, but then when your fingers are dirty, you can't see the seeds as well.
Yes, very true.
That's really the only reason.
And our little tip, if you can't find one of these at your local garden center, go to your local pet store and just get a litter box.
Yeah. Frankly, I think a litter box might be more helpful because I'm constantly flinging stuff at myself. Although I gotta say, you need to keep this raised up off the ground when you have a Frederick and Freya running around, because last year I did find out the hard way that they were interested in some litter box tourism.
I know, Freya did think it was a litter box, and I can't blame her. She has no idea.
So what I'm going to do is get these going, dampen this water till the soil is squishable and then holds its shape but isn't too saturated.
All right, show us what that looks like when you're ready.
When I'm ready. It's always more water than you think. That's basically the rule.
It'll be nice to see the grow light system behind you getting filled.
Yeah, see that right there? Like it stays together, but it's still a little bit crumbly. That'll work out just fine. Put this in here. Fill up our tray. I've been enjoying using these XL seed starting trays so far. I like the look of them. I like the size of the cell, and
they're sturdy.
Very sturdy. So there we go. Nice and packed in. Move over here, deglove.
Now I'm excited for the delicata squash. Last year we had gone to a restaurant, and that restaurant stuffed the delicata squash with like a whole bunch of vegetables and some sausage, and it was just turned out so great that I started buying the delicata squash and copying the recipe. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Dibbler. This will be my little dibbler, and I know that very soon I'm going to have to make these. I'm going to have to up pot these pretty quickly, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm just going to put 2 in each of these holes. We know that squash is a big vine. It's going to grow. It's going to be huge. So I'm anticipating having to up pot. So delicata squash planted. And then our Solanum lycopersicum. That came out pretty quick that time.
I don't even know what you said.
The scientific name of the tomato. I like Baker Creek seeds so much for their funny different varieties. Behind us, these 2 little guys right there, that's the Thai purple eggplant that I think looks a little bit like a purple pumpkin. So I'm very excited for that. I am admitting to this. I'm an overseeder. I would rather, there's a ton of tomato seeds in this packet. Do I think we'll do the same thing every year? Probably not. But I will always overseed. If, you put 2 or 3 in, I put 4.
Well, you're an over-a-seeder.
I'm an over-a-seeder. Ha, 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 ha. Okay, so that, look at that.
Wait, you gotta label them. You have to label them before you put them up there.
I can't remember everything. Look at my setup. It's going so good so far.
While he's getting the labels, I'll show you the update on the daffodils. They are coming up, which I'm really stoked about. They're behind the ones outside, which I think is hysterical.
I don't know what I did wrong, but maybe these bulbs were just not that happy. There's other bulbs in the garage that I forgot to plant that I think that would have been a better choice.
Yeah, I mean, clearly we didn't force them very well because they're behind the ones in the ground outside.
Yeah.
Where we brought them in here to try and get them to bloom earlier so we'd have them, but nope. We're doing our best. We're just regular people.
Now, I bought this vermiculite, and it's much finer looking than other vermiculites I got. And these are both under the surface seeds, so I'm not so worried about the drying out and everything because they're not like a surface sown seed. But it's weird, it's more sandy.
Is it working as well as the past vermiculite, or you don't think so?
Well, since technically the vermiculite's an optional step, I would say it's possibly working. So,
All right.
So then I will just, since the seeds are so low, oh my goodness. That's why I don't like this vermiculite, because it blows away too much. It's not as chunky.
Oh, okay.
So once it's wet, I can get closer with my handy dandy mister, which, yes, this Color Track is a hair salon brand. I brought this home from the shop a couple years ago, and it's now my go-to mister, because you squeeze, squeeze, squeeze.
I thought I was your go-to mister.
Ah.
I'm on a roll today.
Oh, he's on a roll. And then we'll put our humidity dome on, and I can pop this up next to the Thai eggplant, butterfly pea, and passion flower vine. Next up, I am going to be starting 2 different kinds of castor bean seed. This is a very interesting plant. We saw them at Gardener Supply 2 years ago and very successfully grew them last year. And now we're going to try 2 different kinds. The first kind is what we did last year. It's the Impala variety. It's got those big red puffy balls on the ends of the flower, and it has the giant reddish leaves. They're really beautiful. Eric, what's the planting depth on those? It should say on the back.
The planting depth. 1 inch.
All right. I'm starting them in something I know is going to be small, but I want to start them here for moisture control. And once these sprout and I start seeing roots out of the bottom, potentially in a week or 2, I'm going to start potting these up.
Here she comes.
Into potentially something as big as these half gallons where we currently have the daffodils. So once the daffodils move out, I can up pot these to those giant containers.
Yeah, and so one of the reasons you start seeds in such small containers, even though eventually they need to move up, is because it's much easier to keep the soil moisture level controlled in something this small. And that's when that soil moisture is most important, is when they're germinating and in those first few weeks of their growth. So that's why we know logically it's a lot of work to move it up from size to size, but starting them small, ooh, take off your gloves.
I am going to not take off my gloves.
Oh, that's right. Duh.
So,
castor beans.
Does anybody remember that episode of Breaking Bad where they were making ricin poison? Well, they were using castor bean plants. So I also have to say, Eric, come up close. These are the creepiest, ugly seeds I've ever seen. They look like Japanese beetles. I think they are so creepy. And I'm going to pop these down.
1 inch.
1 inch, and be very cautious when I'm germinating these and as they're growing downstairs here. We do close up our little seed tent, which is one of the reasons we have a tent, so the cats can't get to them. And as a fail-safe, they'll always be on the highest possible shelf. Safety first for the little babies.
Yeah, that's why we have this setup in our basement with everything taped around the edges. I think that was 12 altogether, right?
I think that was 12 altogether, was it? Yeah, that was perfect. Okay, so I'll just top these up with a little more soil.
Now these are the same seed starting as the blue ones, they just are brown.
Yep.
And these are made of recycled hemp, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Just because we're not sure if it's exactly the right thing or not, I'm still going to put my vermiculite over the top. I just feel like it neatens it up, right? It makes you feel like you've completed the task.
A little icing on the cake.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And now we can plant the purple ones, which I think are really cool.
I found these on Etsy. Etsy's a really good resource, I think, for seeds. And I had a little back and forth with the Etsy seller. Same procedure here. And we'll have our castor beans ready to go.
And how many seeds did they send you, the seller?
I believe this was 12. I think there's 12 in there. It certainly looks like it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Oh, very nice. I'm telling you, some seed companies, they really hook you up and they send you a few more than
you might need. And then there are some seed companies that don't send as many as you need.
Pansies.
The pansies, in fact, are one of those. But that's okay.
Now, did we have to stake the castor beans last year? I feel like there might have been
Yes.
one or two we had to. So we should anticipate that when we plant them, getting
We
those
do.
stakes in the ground.
And I would say, what are you doing, Mr. Man? He's laying on the ground looking up at me, wondering what I'm doing.
I think he's just enjoying your presence.
The next plant that I'm going to be putting in cells is a gomphrena called Salmon Pastel. I love gomphrena, but it's a very emotional plant for me. And why is that, Eric?
Well, the year before last, it got a double whammy of rabbit damage and late frost damage.
So all of my seedlings died. It was really
How many? You
emotional.
started like 100 or something.
124 of them.
I know. They were going to be like our annual of the year that continues throughout the garden. And you had planted them too.
Yeah.
And we learned our lesson. Do not trust your average last frost date.
Oh, and I should mention a very important fact about all of these seeds. I have been using a Excel spreadsheet. I actually got the template from Bethany, Eric. Did I tell you that?
Yes.
So I have this template with all of the final frost dates, because you're supposed to start your seeds at the appropriate time before your final frost. And we are about 6 weeks exactly from our final frost date. So everything that I'm planting today is in that 4 to 6 week range. And I'm just rounding it up to 6 so I can take it in one foul swoop, get all of our beautiful seeds together like this.
So after the gomphrena, what are you working on?
Well, then I have a question for you. Would you like me to plant some majorette double champagne hollyhocks again?
Abso-freaking-lutely.
All right.
These are so gorgeous.
Would you like me to do 12 so that we have
Yes,
a lot
because
of them?
we have that whole new mixed border that we need
And
to
those
fill.
do fill really nicely. Additionally, I would like to know, would you like me to start some Verbena venariensis that I collected from seed last year?
Yes, let's do 6 of these because we know we're going to have little seedlings popping up all over the garden.
Okay, so we'll do 6 of them again in that new garden. I'm also going to be starting rose gold celosia,
Yes.
which we harvested with Bethany last September.
Yeah, these are originally florets.
Yep, those are
celosia.
floret originals. So I'm probably going to put 12 of those together, and they might be, I know that one of your least favorite gardening terms is dotted around the garden. So we're not going to dot them around the garden, but maybe we'll place them sporadically. How's that?
Okay, big difference.
Big difference. And then let's see, the other things I have. Oh, I have our floret alpenglow zinnias that we collected the seeds.
Oh yeah, our zinnias.
I'm going to do a full 12 of those. And then we also harvested dahlia seeds. So I was going to do 12 of the dahlias that we collected last year that were also the Petite Floret blend. I just can't imagine not having them after having them last year. It was wonderful. Everything looks so good, nice and tidy. I did take a second to clean up. I've got altogether 5 new trays started today, plus the 2 XLs up on top. We will leave these here until they start sprouting. The humidity domes will come off, and then eventually they'll have a mild fertilizer. But you'll probably see more updates on these on Instagram and stories. I'm just so happy to have this checked off our checklist. We've gotten all 5 pieces of our garden checklist accomplished.
So thank you so much for joining us today. Please make sure you click like and subscribe. Again, I'm Eric.
And I'm Christopher.
And we're Grow For Me Gardening.
Thanks for growing with us.